The glass of champagne trembled in my grip, condensation slipping between my fingers like the composure I was desperately clinging to. The gallery hummed with polite laughter and the clink of expensive crystal, but all I could hear was the blood rushing in my ears as I spotted him across the room. Richard. My ex-fiancé stood near the modernist sculpture, his hand resting possessively on the lower back of a blonde woman draped in Chanel. 3 years had passed since he'd shattered our engagement. Since he'd told me I was too ordinary for the life he wanted to build. 3 years since I'd packed my belongings from our shared apartment while he watched, arms crossed, not offering to help carry a single box. The gallery's air conditioning raised goosebumps on my dark skin, but I couldn't tell if it was the chill or the anxiety crawling up my spine. I'd come tonight because my best friend insisted I needed to get out, to stop hiding. I wasn't hiding. I was surviving. I turned toward the exit, suddenly feeling threadbare compared to the couture surrounding me. My dress, an elegant red Calvin Klein I'd found at a consignment shop, hugged my curves perfectly, contrasting beautifully with my complexion, yet under Richard's gaze, I felt exposed.
Nia.
Nia Williams. I froze. My maiden name.
He didn't know.
Of course he didn't know. Forcing my features into something resembling calm, I turned. Richard approached with that familiar swagger, the blonde trailing behind him like an accessory. His cologne hit me like a physical assault, bringing back memories of arguments and ultimatums. "I thought that was you," he said, his eyes scanning me from head to toe in a way that made my skin crawl. Not with desire, but with appraisal, like I was livestock at an auction. "Wow, you look exactly the same." Though, that red is a bold choice. The way he said it, I knew he didn't mean it as a compliment. "Richard." I managed to keep my voice steady, proud of myself for that small victory. "This is Chloe," he gestured to the blonde, who extended a hand weighted down by what had to be a 3-carat diamond. "My fiancé. We're getting married in the Hamptons next month." "Congratulations," I murmured, the word tasting like ash. "And you?" Chloe's voice dripped with practiced sweetness, the kind that barely concealed the knife underneath. "Are you here with someone?" Before I could formulate a response, Richard laughed, that same condescending chuckle I remembered from arguments about my career choices. "No husband yet, Nia. Still waiting for your prince to come." The words hit their target. I felt my cheeks burn, my throat tightening. Around us, conversations continued, oblivious to my humiliation. The gallery's white walls suddenly felt like they were closing in. "Actually," I started, but Richard was already talking over me. "You know, I always wondered if you'd end up alone," he continued, and I could see Chloe trying to hide a smirk. "You were always so picky, so unwilling to compromise. I tried to help you see what you needed to change," but he shrugged as if my entire existence was a failed project he'd abandoned. Something inside me snapped. Maybe it was the way he stood there so smug, so certain of my failure. Maybe it was the 3 years of rebuilding myself, of learning to stand on my own at only 22 years old, only to have him try to knock me down again. "I'm married," I said quietly. The words hung in the air between us. Richard's expression shifted from amusement to confusion. "You're what? Married?" I lifted my left hand where the platinum band caught the gallery lights. It was simple, elegant, and had cost more than Richard made in 6 months, though he didn't need to know that. 6 months ago. Chloe's perfectly microbladed eyebrows rose. "Oh, to whom?" The question felt like a trap. My husband and I had agreed to keep things private. His world and mine existed in separate spheres. The arrangement was simple. I got security, he got... Well, I was still trying to understand what he got out of it. "That's private," I said, the words sounding defensive even to my own ears. Richard's laugh was sharper now, edged with something ugly. "Private or imaginary?"
Come on, Nia. If you were really married, you'd be here with him.
"You always were a terrible liar." My face burned hotter. Around us, I noticed a few heads turning, drawn by the rising tension. The gallery's polished concrete floor suddenly felt unsteady beneath my heels. "I don't have to prove anything to you," I managed, but my voice wavered. Still the same, Nia, Richard said, shaking his head with mock pity. Making up stories, living in a fantasy. I dodged a bullet, didn't I, Chloe? Chloe giggled, the sound grating against my nerves. I needed to leave now. Before I broke down in front of them, I mumbled something about needing air and turned toward the exit, my vision blurring. My heels clicked against the floor. Everything about me suddenly felt exposed, inadequate. The walls displayed art worth thousands, surrounded by people dripping in wealth, and I was the girl in the consignment dress with the imaginary husband. I pushed through the glass doors into the Manhattan night. The September air hit my face, cooler now. The street was busy, taxis honking, the city indifferent to my private humiliation. My phone buzzed in my clutch. I pulled it out with shaking hands. Where are you? 3 words.
No greeting, no pleasantries.
That was him. Direct, economical with words, always in control. My fingers hovered over the screen. Junho didn't do gallery openings. He didn't do public anything if he could avoid it. Our marriage was a business arrangement, a solution to problems we'd both faced. I'd needed security after my landlord had sold my building and I'd been evicted. He'd needed
something.
His lawyer had presented the offer with clinical precision. A marriage of convenience. Separate lives, separate spaces. It had seemed insane. It still seemed insane, but I'd been desperate. And Junho had been persuasive. Not with charm, but with the way he'd looked at me during our one meeting before the courthouse wedding. Like he saw something in me that I couldn't see in myself.
Nia.
Another text. I could almost hear the edge in it. My thumbs moved across the screen. At a gallery in Chelsea. Leaving now. The reply came instantly. Stay there. 5 minutes. I didn't bother arguing. When Junho said 5 minutes, he meant 5 minutes. I leaned against the gallery's exterior wall, trying to steady my breathing. My phone buzzed again. Not a text this time, a call. The screen showed Jay with no last name. Everything about my husband was carefully anonymous. Hello. Who upset you? His voice was low, controlled, but I'd learned to hear the undertones. There was something sharp beneath the calm, like ice over deep water. How did you? Your location pinged as stationary for 12 minutes. Then you moved abruptly to exit. Your texts were delayed. Either something's wrong or you're in danger. Which is it? This was Junho. Everything was data patterns and potential threats. He was a powerful man, a Korean Mafia boss, though he rarely used the title aloud. I'd found his security measures excessive at first. The tracking app, the driver who appeared whenever I went too far from the apartment. It's nothing, I said. Just ran into someone I used to know. Nia, the way he said my name wasn't a question. It was a command disguised as one. Tell me the truth. My ex-fiancé.
We talked.
It was fine. You're lying, the certainty in his voice made my stomach drop. He made you cry. He didn't know we were married. I admitted finally. He thought I was lying when I told him. He mocked me. Silence on the other end. Not empty silence. I could hear voices, then a door closing. When Junho spoke again, his voice had dropped even lower. What's his name? It's not his name, Nia. Richard. A black SUV turned onto the street, moving with purpose. My heart began to pound. No, it couldn't be. He was supposed to be at a meeting downtown. The vehicle pulled up directly in front of me, and the back door opened. Junho Park stepped out. I'd forgotten how he looked in person. The photos didn't capture the reality of him. Tall, lean but built like someone who knew how to handle himself, wearing a black Mafia suit and a crisp white collared shirt that emphasized the breadth of his shoulders. But it was his face that always caught me off guard. Sharp, elegant Korean features, dark eyes that missed nothing, and a mouth that rarely smiled but somehow conveyed volumes. 2 men emerged from the front seats, positioned on either side. Security. Always security. Junho's gaze locked onto mine, and I stopped breathing. He moved toward me with fluid grace. You're shaking, he observed, his hand reaching up to cup my elbow. His touch was warm, steady, and completely unexpected. "We didn't touch," I whispered. "That wasn't part of the arrangement."
Ai fine, ilid.
But my body leaned slightly into his stability. His eyes narrowed, then moved past me to the gallery entrance.
He's in there, Nia.
"Please, it's not worth." But he was already moving, his hand still on my elbow, guiding me back toward the entrance. The security detail flanked us. Suddenly, we weren't just three people entering a gallery. We were a force. The moment we stepped inside, conversations faltered. The air itself seemed to shift, recognizing the dangerous authority of the Korean Mafia boss I'd married in a courthouse 6 months ago. Junho's gaze swept the room with predatory precision. The gallery owner's face drained of color. "Mr. Park," she stammered. "We weren't expecting." "My wife was here," Junho said quietly, each word precise. Someone made her uncomfortable. "I'd like to know who." "My wife." He'd never called me that before. Not once in 6 months. The gallery had gone completely silent. And there, near the sculpture, I saw Richard's face turn ashen as he finally understood. Every eye in the room had shifted from the art to us, to Junho's hand still firm on my elbow, to the men flanking us with the stillness of coiled violence. I'd never seen him like this. In our brief clinical meetings, Junho had been controlled, professional. But this was different. There was something burning beneath his composed exterior. "Nia," his voice dropped lower, "meant only for me. Point him out." "The one in the gray suit," I heard myself whisper. The crowd parted without anyone consciously deciding to move. We stopped 3 feet from Richard and Chloe. Up close, I could see the sweat beading on Richard's forehead. Chloe had gone pale, her engagement ring suddenly looking gaudy rather than impressive. "You spoke to my wife," Junho's voice carried despite its quietness. It wasn't a question, it was a statement of fact from a mafia boss who did not tolerate disrespect. Richard's mouth opened and closed. We were just catching up. Old friends." "Friends," Junho repeated the word like he was tasting something rotten. "Is that what you call questioning the legitimacy of her marriage? Mocking her in public?" "I didn't mean." "I wasn't." "You told her she was lying." Junho took one step closer. Just one. But something in that movement made Richard stumble backward. "You called her a liar in front of your fiancé, in front of strangers. You humiliated her." "It was a misunderstanding," Chloe interjected, her voice shrill. Richard didn't know she was actually. Junho's gaze shifted to her, and she stopped mid-sentence. His eyes were dark, devoid of warmth. "You laughed," he said to Chloe. "You found her pain amusing." "I know, I wasn't." "June, please." I found my voice. "Can we just go?" He didn't look at me, but his hand found mine, fingers interlacing with a possessiveness that sent electricity up my arm. "In a moment," he said. "I want to make sure we're all clear on a few things. Nia is my wife. That's not a fantasy, not a story. It's a legal fact, and more importantly, it's a reality that you will respect." "Of course," Richard stammered. "Absolutely. I apologize." "You didn't think," Junho finished for him. "You didn't think that the woman you discarded might have value beyond what you could see. You didn't think she might be worth something to someone who actually knows quality." My chest tightened. The words were possessive, but they were also a defense of me.
For me.
"We'll be leaving now," Junho said, guiding me toward the exit. "If I hear that you've spoken about my wife again to anyone, in any context, I'll take it as a personal insult. Do you understand what that means coming from me?" He didn't wait for an answer. We were already moving, the security detail falling into formation. The September night air hit my face again, but this time it felt different. The black SUV waited at the curb. Junho guided me inside first, his hand on the small of my back. The vehicle pulled away from the curb with smooth precision. Only then did Junho release a breath I hadn't realized he'd been holding. "Are you hurt?" he asked, turning to face me fully.
"What?"
"No, he just said some things. Things that made you shake. Things that made you lie to me when I asked what was wrong." His hand came up, fingers catching my chin with gentle pressure. "Look at me."
I did.
In the SUV's dim lighting, his features were sharper.
Ivy fine, he whispered.
You didn't have to do all that. Yes, he said quietly. I did.
Why?
We barely know each other. This is just an arrangement. Something flickered across his face. His thumb brushed along my jawline. That was the agreement. But agreements can be renegotiated. My heart hammered against my ribs. What does that mean? Instead of answering, he reached for a phone mounted near his seat. Richard Davis, he read aloud. Works in commercial real estate. Leverage to his eyeballs. Interesting that he's planning a Hamptons wedding when he can't even pay his commercial debts. I stared at him. How do you? You've had him for less than 20 minutes. 18 minutes, Jun-ho corrected. His company is 3 months behind on payments to one of my associates. Your associates? I repeated. What exactly is it that you do, June? A ghost of a smile touched his lips. I solve problems. What you need to know is this. You're mine to protect now. Anyone who hurts you answers to the Park family. Answers to me. I can protect myself, I said, though the words lacked conviction. I know you can, his hand found mine again. But you don't have to anymore. The SUV turned onto a street I didn't recognize, heading away from my modest apartment in Brooklyn. Where are we going?
My place.
You're not going back to that apartment tonight. Someone is packing what you need. June. We need to talk. About what happens next. The penthouse occupied the entire top floor of a building that scraped the sky. The private elevator opened directly into a foyer of gleaming marble. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a view of Manhattan that seemed impossible. The furniture was minimal but expensive, sleek leather, dark wood. I'll have Min Jun bring up your things, Jun-ho said, shrugging out of his black suit jacket. Beneath it, his white shirt was crisp, tailored perfectly to his frame. He moved to a bar cart. Wine. Red. He poured 2 glasses. I perched on the edge of a leather sofa, my red dress suddenly feeling loud in the monochrome space. Jun-ho sat beside me, closer than necessary. He'd rolled up his shirt sleeves, revealing forearms corded with muscle and marked with scars. You're nervous, he observed. You had someone pack my things without asking me. You brought me here, without asking. What you did at the gallery needed to be done. No, it didn't. We have an arrangement. Separate lives. This is temporary. Nia, the way he said my name made me stop. His hand came up, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. The arrangement was a lie. My heart stuttered. What? Not entirely a lie, he amended. The terms were real. But the reason? I didn't marry you because I needed a convenient wife for business purposes. The wine glass trembled in my grip. Then why? Because 6 months ago, I walked into that hospital where you volunteer. I was visiting one of my men, and I saw you reading to a little girl. You were crying because the story was sad, but you kept smiling for her. I made inquiries, found out you'd been evicted, that you were struggling, and I thought, here is someone good, someone real. So, you decided to save me? A charity case. No, his hand cupped my face now. I decided to keep you. There is a difference. The possessiveness in those words should have terrified me. Instead, heat flooded through my body. I've been patient, he continued. 6 months of separate lives. Knowing you were sleeping in that apartment with locks that wouldn't keep out a determined teenager. I had to assign security just to make sure you made it home safely. You assigned security? The man at the bodega. The woman who jogs your route.
Mine.
I should have felt violated. Instead, I felt the weight of being seen. Why tell me this now? Because of what happened tonight. Because I saw how he made you feel small. And I'm done pretending this is temporary. I want a real marriage, Nia. With you. You don't know me. I'm managed weekly. I know you volunteer every Saturday. I know you eat Thai food when you're sad. I know you're stronger than you think. I'm not a good man, Nia. I am a mafia boss. I've done things that would make you run if you knew the details. But I swear to you, I will never hurt you. That sounds like obsession. Yes, he admitted, his eyes dark. That's exactly what it is. I should be scared. Are you? I searched my feelings.
No.
Then say yes.
To staying.
To being mine in more than just name. What about the 2-year timeline? Forget the timeline. I want forever, Nia. I want every man who looks at you to know exactly who you belong to. My pulse raced where his hand rested against my throat. I need time. This is too fast. You have tonight. Sleep here. Let me show you what this could be. And if I say no, then I honor our agreement. But I don't think you will say no. He was right, and I hated how right he was. One condition, I whispered. Honesty. About us. All right, his thumb traced my cheekbone. Honesty. Okay, I whispered. I'll stay. We can try being a real marriage. The expression that crossed his face was overwhelming. Relief, triumph, and hunger. You won't regret this, he promised. And then his lips were on mine. The kiss was nothing like I'd expected. It was achingly gentle, yet possessive. He tasted like whiskey and danger. His hands cupped my face, then slid into my hair. I opened for him, without hesitation. One arm banded around my waist, pulling me flush against him. Nia, he breathed against my lips. If you want me to stop, tell me now. I'd spent 3 years being practical, being careful. But Junho was offering something different. Don't stop, I whispered. Please don't stop. He lifted me, carrying me toward the bedroom. The world tilted as he laid me down on silk sheets, his body covering mine. Once I have you, Nia, I'm never letting go. I'm sure. I breathed, pulling him down into another kiss. Morning light filtered through the windows. I woke slowly, the unfamiliar weight of an arm across my waist grounding me.
Juno.
Memory flooded back, his touch, his voice, the way he'd worshipped my body. You're thinking too loud. His voice rumbled, rough with sleep. He tightened his hold on me. You're wondering if last night was a mistake. I'm not, I said, turning to face him. In the morning light, he was devastatingly beautiful. Dark hair messed from sleep, stubble shadowing his jaw. But now I could see the scars clearly on his chest and arms. How did you get this one? I traced a thin line on his shoulder. Knife fight. I was 19. Stupid. And this? A pucker on his ribs. Bullet.
Attempted coup.
Someone thought they could take my territory.
Did you?
Kill them? He met my eyes steadily. Yes. I didn't pull away. You're a Korean Mafia boss. I guess that comes with the job. It does. I'm not a psychopath, Nia. But I protect what is mine. And you are mine now. Which means anyone who threatens me becomes your problem? Yes. A knock at the door interrupted us.
Juno tensed instantly.
Yes, Minyon.
Sir.
You asked to be informed when certain information became available. Junho sat up, the sheet falling to his waist. Give me 10 minutes. He turned back to me. Your ex-fiancé. I had someone look into his finances more thoroughly last night. Richard has been embezzling from his company. He's using client funds to pay for that wedding. It's all fraud. I stared at him. You found all this in one night. I have resources. The question is, what do you want me to do about it? I could make it disappear. Or I could make sure it surfaces immediately. The power in those words was staggering. He was offering me revenge or mercy. Why would you make it disappear?
If you still cared about him.
I wouldn't like it, but I'd do it for you. I realized then how much control I had. This powerful mafia boss was giving me the choice. I don't want to protect him, I said quietly. But I don't want you to ruin him out of spite.
Just.
Let justice run its course. Don't interfere. Junho nodded, looking satisfied. You're better than me. All right. We won't point the authorities in his direction. But we won't stop them either. Thank you. Don't thank me.
Now get dressed.
I have a surprise. 2 hours later, we pulled up outside a building in Brooklyn. My old apartment building. Why are we here? I asked. Junho guided me to my old door, apartment 3C, and unlocked it. I stepped inside and froze. The place had been transformed. Fresh paint, new floors, but more importantly, my things were here. My paintings, my books, my mismatched mugs. I don't understand. I bought the building 6 months ago, Junho confessed. The eviction notice. I orchestrated it. I turned to stare at him. What? I needed a way to approach you. Needed you desperate enough to accept the marriage offer. So, I created the situation. Anger sparked hot and bright. You manipulated me.
Yes.
I won't deny it. But Nia, look around. I've spent the last 6 months renovating this place for you. Even if you chose to leave me after 2 years, this was going to be yours. Paid for. Safe. You're insane, I said, but the anger was fading as I looked at the care in every detail. Completely, he agreed. Is that a deal breaker? I looked at him. Junho Park, the Korean Mafia boss who had manipulated me into marriage, but had also ensured I would never be homeless again. Who defended me. Who loved me with a terrifying intensity. I should say yes, I admitted. But I'm staying with you. In the penthouse. Relief washed over his features. Really?
Yes.
As your wife. But I'm keeping this apartment as a studio. Done. He pulled me against him. You won't regret this. I know, I whispered, pressing a kiss to his jaw. I choose you. Obsession, Mafia empire and all. 3 weeks later, I sat in the children's ward at the hospital, reading to a new patient. Minjun and the security team waited outside, discreet but present. Richard's arrest had made the news last week. Fraud and embezzlement. Chloe had left him immediately. He was a closed chapter. Mrs. Park. The little girl looked up from the book. You're smiling. Is it a happy story? I glanced down at the page. Yes, I said softly. Very happy. Because it was. I had been ordinary and invisible, and then a man in a black mafia suit had seen me, truly seen me. It wasn't a fairy tale. It was messy and dangerous. But we were real, Junho and I. And I wouldn't trade being the mafia boss's wife for anything in the world.